Donald Trump is as twisted as they come. While publicly he and his Republican Party are celebrating the overturning of Roe v. Wade, behind the scenes, Donald Trump is telling people that this significant moment in time will hurt the Republican Party. Let's talk about it.
Welcome back to another episode with your host, Tabitha. Here is where we have some straightforward discussions on political and social news, television show recaps, and of course, everyone's favorite, celebrity gossip. These discussions are to simply chat about what's happening in the world around us. The intent is not to be mean or malicious, but to remain informed on the more serious topics and to just have a little fun discussing the craziness that surround our favorite celebrities. So grab yourself a drink and a snack. Sit back and relax and enjoy the conversation.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Politics in the Divided States of America. In today's Politics news, Donald Trump is behind the scenes talking about how this overturning of Roe v. Wade will definitely hurt Republicans in November of 2022. That's right. The man that made all of this possible, who appointed 3 judges, 2 of whom he knew would work to overturn Roe v. Wade, along with Clarence Thomas. He set all of this in motion. He brought it all to where we are now. And behind the scenes, he's telling all of his people, his friends, that this will definitely hurt Republicans in November of 2022. And I'm hoping and praying that it does. I got this tidbit of information from the New York Times, and this is what the article reads. The end of the landmark Roe v. Wade ruling was the culmination of decades of work by Republicans and social conservatives, one that came to pass only after a former Democrat from New York who had once supported abortion rights helped muscle through 3 Supreme Court justices. Publicly, former President Donald J. Trump heralded the Supreme Court's ruling on Friday, ending federal abortion protections as a victory, yet as he faces possible prosecution over his efforts to subvert the 2020 election and prepares for a likely 2024 presidential campaign, Mr. Trump has privately told friends and advisors the ruling will be bad for Republicans. When a draft copy of the decision leaked in May, Mr. Trump began telling friends and advisors that it would anger suburban women, a group who helped tilt the 2020 race to President Biden, and would lead to a backlash against Republicans in the November midterms. In other conversations, Mr. Trump has told people that measures like the Texas state law banning most abortions after 6 weeks and allowing citizens to file lawsuits against people who enable abortions are so stupid. That's right, y'all. Donald Trump called those legislatures down in Texas who spearheaded this banning of abortion after 6 weeks and allowing citizens to file lawsuits against people who enable our abortions. He called them so stupid. According to a person with direct knowledge of the discussions, the Supreme Court let the measure stand in 2021. For the first hours after the decision was made public on Friday, Donald Trump was muted in response, a striking contrast to the conservatives who worked in his administration, including former Vice President Mike Pence. Mike Pence came out and said, we need to make all of these bans that are, these trigger laws that are taking place, which is banning abortions in some Republican states, he wanted that done nationwide. That's what Mike Pence came out to say. Pence issued a statement saying life won as he called for abortion opponents to keep fighting in every state in the land. For weeks in advance of the ruling, Mr. Trump has been just as muted. In an interview with the New York Times in May, Trump uttered an eyebrow-raising demurral in response to a question about the central role he had played in paving the way for the reversal of Roe v. Wade. Quote, I never like to take credit for anything. What? End quote. That's all Donald Trump does, is take credit for all that he does. He's a billionaire. He's done this. He won the election when he didn't. That's all Donald Trump has done, taking credit for what he has done and what he hasn't done. Pressed to describe his feelings about having helped assemble a court that was on the verge of erasing the 1973 ruling, Trump refused to engage the question and instead focused on the leak of the draft opinion. That's because Trump does not care. He knows this is bad. He knows. Trump is not a Christian. He's not an evangelical. He doesn't worship Jesus. He does none of that. Hell, he didn't even want to go to church on the day of his inauguration. And the only way he would go is if they would agree not to do any of that preachy stuff, as he was quoted and saying. And now he wants nothing to do with this. Because if he does plan to run in 2024, he doesn't want anything that he said to come back on him regarding the overturning of Roe v. Wade. I hate to say it, Donald Trump, your stamp is all over this. None of this would have come about without the moves you made during your presidency. Quote, I don't know what the decision is, he said. We've been reading about something that was drawn months ago. Nobody knows what the decision is. A draft is a draft. End quote. That's what he said when that draft came out. By early afternoon on Friday, Trump put out a statement taking a victory lap, including applauding himself for sticking by his choice of nominees. He's playing both sides of the fence. All three of Trump's appointees to the court, whom he pushed through with help from Mitch McConnell, the Senate Republican leader, were in the majority in the 6-3 ruling. He left unspoken the fact that he repeatedly attacked the court for not interceding on his behalf after he lost the 2020 election. Quote, today's decision, which is the biggest win for life in a generation, along with other decisions that have been announced recently, were only made possible because I delivered everything as promised, including nominating and getting 3 highly respected and strong constitutionalists confirmed to the United States Supreme Court. End quote. This is what Trump said. But didn't he just say a few sentences back that he doesn't like to take credit, and he was kind of like trying to distance himself from it? On top of behind the scenes, he's telling all of his people that this is going to be bad for Republicans in the midterms. Trump also told Fox News in an interview published after the decision on Friday that the court was following the Constitution and giving rights back when they should have been given long ago. I think in the end, this is something that will work out for everybody, end quote. That's what Donald Trump said. Republicans are bracing for a fight. A memo in May from the National Republican Senate Committee, first reported by Axios, suggested that GOP candidates deal with criticism from Democrats by highlighting extreme and radical views in support of late-term abortions and government funding for abortions, and suggesting that their own views are based in compassion and reason. So that's going to be their talking point to, one, try to distract from the cruelty and the harshness of overturning Roe V Wade and these cruel and diabolical laws that have been placed in the states, because, they're sending it back to the states to make those rulings. And some of the rulings that the states have put in place are cruel and diabolical, and they offer no special treatment for those who have to deal with rape or incest or any medical issues that come about, like miscarriage, ectopic pregnancies. No, you can't have an abortion, period. So if you are a product of incest, you will be carrying that baby to term. If you're a product of rape, you will be carrying that baby to term. If you are dealing with a miscarriage or an ectopic pregnancy and you can't get that corrected by way of an abortion, because that's how they correct that, you will probably get sepsis and die. And the GOP is to distract from that and lead you to believe that Democrats are extreme and radical because they support late-term abortions, which is a lie. There's no place in this country that you can get an abortion after a certain time frame during the pregnancy. So they'll twist the truth and they'll lie to try to save their seats come November. And I'm hoping all of you that are listening to me, when they start coming out with this distraction and these lies by saying that the Democrats are radical and extreme because they were the ones that supported late-term abortions, and this is why we did what we did, because we're compassionate and we're empathetic. I want you to think about all of those states that have banned abortions and don't make any special provisions for little girls that have been dealing with being raped by family members, grown women who've been raped by strangers and end up pregnant. They will be forced to carry those babies to term. I want you to think about those women who end up getting pregnant. They wanted their babies, but because of how things went wrong throughout their pregnancy, they end up miscarrying and still have particles of that pregnancy in their wombs, ectopic pregnancies, where the baby grows outside of the tube, or I forget how it works. They won't be able to get an abortion to rid themselves of what can kill them. That is the Republican Party. All in the name of saving the children. And once the children are born, they don't give a shit about the children. While Trump had stayed quiet on the issue in recent weeks, people close to him anticipate he will become more vocal as he watches how clearly his right-wing base responds and how easily he can point to it as something that he made happen. So he's sitting by and he's waiting to see how all of us react to it. Will women sit idly by and accept it, or will they rise up in anger and fight against it? His advisors believe he can highlight the issue as he faces potential Republican challengers and sees signs that his own political base has moved further to the right on vaccines and other issues. Child, this article goes on and on. I'll put a link to it down in the description box. You guys can read all of it for yourselves, but you get the point. You get the point that I'm trying to make. I'll be watching to see what Donald Trump comes out and says. But I also will know that he's been privately telling people behind the scenes that this is going to be a detriment to the Republican Party come November 2022. And I'm praying that as a result, that enough women across the United States are raging, and they take that rage into the voting booth and they vote straight Democrat. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what needs to be done. If that's not what is done, we are in a world of trouble. A world of trouble. The live that I did on yesterday, I'm tired of people saying that we're heading into a constitutional crisis. We have been in a constitutional crisis ever since Donald Trump was put into office. Wake up and see what's really going on. Overturning of Roe V Wade. They're trying to roll back voter protections for black people. One of the Supreme Court justices, Neil Gorsuch, doesn't believe that black people should have the right to vote. There's quite a few of people on the Supreme Court who believe that women shouldn't have the right to vote. We are heading into a dystopian society. And it's terrifying. Y'all get down in the comments. Y'all let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Thank you for tuning in to the conversation. Make sure you subscribe and rate the episode. And to stay connected with Tabitha, head on over and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's Tabitha. And you can also follow on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. All the links will be available in the More Info box. Until next time, be good to yourselves and each other.
And each other.